And the purpose of your trip to Washington?
Is to try to get some action on this and get it resolved and get the people back that are missing and the remains of the killed back.
You're still trying, aren't you?
We certainly are. I don't think we're going to give up till this situation is all settled.
The reason that his name is here, I don't like it here. I don't want it here because I want to know whether he's dead or alive.
Me, my son's dead. That's final. There's no other thing. But these people with sons that are missing in action, they're still wondering.
The war in Vietnam took its toll of American lives, and along with it, the personal grief of family members and friends. But for the families of nearly 2,500 American servicemen, the anguish of the Vietnam War continues, for their loved ones have not been accounted for. It's been more than a decade since Operation Homecoming, when the North Vietnamese returned our prisoners of war. But there was no homecoming for the Americans who are either suffering as prisoners of war or buried in some unknown grave in Southeast Asia. 161 of those men are from New York State, 4 from the Buffalo area. And although it's been more than a decade and a half without any accounting of our missing, the vigil continues. The families won't rest until their sons, husbands, and brothers are returned home, one way or another. In the fall of 1983, the Western New York POW MIA Task Force organized a bus trip to Washington, D.C. to take part in a rally and parade aimed at focusing public attention on the plight of American servicemen believed still held prisoners in Southeast Asia. Mrs. Mafalo DiTomaso of Lackawanna is the mother of Air Force Lieutenant Colonel Robert DiTomaso, whose plane was shot down by Russian MiGs over Laos in 1966 while on an intelligence mission. Unable to make the trip because of recent eye surgery, Mrs. DiTomaso was on hand to see the group off and maintain her stand on government action to account for the missing in action.
Well, I think they should really have the United Nations in on it to put pressure on other countries. And also there should be high-level talks between the ambassadorial level instead of just sending over military people.
Mrs. Susan Chakowski of Cheektowaga is the sister of Air Force Colonel Robert Diskowski, whose plane also was shot down over Laos by Russian MiGs in 1966.
All they did was declare my brother dead, and we don't accept that finding.
What will you accept?
I'll accept some proof that my brother is either dead or alive, and I believe the Vietnamese military or government has that information, and I think it's up to our government to keep pursuing the problem and get that information.
Sam and Eva Rozo of the town of Tonawanda are the parents of Army Staff Sergeant James Rozo, who was taken prisoner of war when he was caught in a ground ambush in 1970. Although he was spotted a year and a half later, his name never appeared on the official POW lists.
All we're concerned now, if there is alive men, we want them home. If they're all dead, we want the bodies back home, and then our situation would be sort of cleared up.
We write to the president, the congressmen, senators, trying to get a little help, public awareness, but it hasn't done any good.
Dale Foster of Lockport is the brother of Air Force Staff Sergeant Robert Foster, whose plane was shot down in 1966. 3 crew members were rescued, but Foster was one of 3 wounded airmen left behind.
The first word we got, they said that he was reported killed in action or possibly missing in action, and if there was any more word that they'd be sure to notify us, but we never have any notification since.
I see you're taking this trip along with some of the families. What is the purpose for you attending?
Well, my brother was killed in Vietnam in 1968, and there's a monument in Washington with his name on it. I want to see it.
They saw all of the names on the Vietnam Veterans Memorial, some 38,000 of them. It was an emotional moment as relatives and friends prayed, laid wreaths, and sought out the names of their loved ones forever inscribed on their memorial. But for many, the white embossed printing on the polished black granite gave them no peace of mind.
I don't like it here. I don't want it here because I want to know whether he's dead or alive. And I would be honored to have him listed among all these heroes if I knew he was dead.
The cross is that he's missing or a prisoner of war. If they should find that he is dead, then they can make the cross into a diamond. Then that means he's then he's KIA.
Okay. Is he missing or was he killed?
He was KIA and possibly a prisoner. They don't know.
No remains?
No.
Me, my son's dead. That's final. There's no other thing. But these people with sons that are missing in action, they're still wondering.
Since December of 1982, the Veterans Vigil Society has posted a 24-hour color guard at the memorial. One of those standing guard was Walter Barrett of Niagara Falls. A victim of Agent Orange, Barrett spent 3.5 years in Nam working with the Navy's elite SEAL team and with the Central Intelligence Agency. He has been a candidate for the Congressional Medal of Honor.
I hate to say it, but I think it's going to take, some type of military action to bring, the bodies back, or the people themselves, wherever they're at.
They came from 6 states and the District of Columbia, some 2,000 strong, for the rally and parade to voice their support for an accounting of our POWs and MIAs. Coordinating the effort was Marine Vietnam veteran Donald Dimmick of the VFW Crosby Post in Kenmore.
You've got a situation where the grieving process cannot be completed. People tell them you might as well give up. They're probably dead. The grieving process starts, and then it just kind of goes into limbo. It can't stop. They don't have a body. They don't have a ceremony that they can get the grief out.
Next on the packed agenda was a short bus trip by members of the delegation seeking answers to the missing in action agony. It was to the Russian embassy, where squads of police and Secret Service uniform patrols advised the group they couldn't gather in front of the building. However, Tom Kaiser of Long Island, a member of the League of Families, was finally allowed to make contact with the embassy.
Hello, may I help you?
Yes, my name is Tom Kaiser. I'm a private American citizen, and I'm concerned about American servicemen who were left behind in Southeast Asia. And we realize that the Russians have quite a presence in Southeast Asia, and we would like to discuss with you the possibility of trying to help us find our men that were left behind after the Vietnam War.
Today there is no official at the embassy. Today is Sunday.
I understand that, sir, but could we possibly set up a meeting for a future date?
Give me a call on Monday.
However, when Monday came around, there was no meeting scheduled by the Russians. The colorful one-hour parade moved down Constitution Avenue to Pennsylvania Avenue. Its message was clearly visible. The parade ended at Lafayette Park, across the street from the White House, where the participants paid homage to the servicemen who never came home from Nam.
Direct us all until our goal is accomplished. All this we ask in your name. Amen.
Amen. Among the dignitaries present was Ann Mills Griffiths, Executive Director of the National League of Families of American Prisoners and Missing in Southeast Asia.
And now we see more and more, after 8 years of near apathy, to where we finally have an administration who has made this issue a matter of the highest priority.
It was a long bus ride home for the families and friends of our missing in action, but there was a feeling of a mission accomplished. Sue Tchaikovsky best summed up the overall message to the American people.
I still think of my brother every night. I didn't forget about him. I'm sure there's hundreds of people out there who wear my brother's bracelets or wore it. And I want them to know that we still need them.